Hi guys, it's diys-by-dar, and I thought I would go through and give you a little peek at what it is to do pressed plant pottery. It's something that I've done for a very long time, almost pushing 30 years, and I take plants from Michigan and then I press them into my wet clay and make various things from them. This is the clay I use. I get it from Runyon's, and it is great. This is my kiln. It is electric, so I don't have to use any cones when I'm firing. There's my slab roller in the background, and I make nice big slabs of clay to press plants in. Here's a little bit of a close-up of one, and you have to remember, basically it's just dried mud. So this is what can happen when you're handling dried mud. Here's a full platter of my pendants that I make, and you can see I always have some that break when I do this because of the way that you have to clean them up. This one I lost, and you can see how fragile it is. Just kind of falls apart, so you do have to be extremely careful when you clean them. And you have to clean them because they're kind of rough from whatever you used to cut it. And you can see the little ridges on the side. I have to scrape them off and clean that up and go around the whole item just to make sure it's clean, because nobody's going to want something that's that rough on the outside. Plus the bottom has an image on it, or a texture on it from the canvas that you press it out on. Even the holes, you can see pushing the hole that dried mud is kind of leaving a bunch at the back, and I just take like a scrubby and just scrub it away. That's all you're gonna do, and it does make a lot of dust. And if I'm not working outside, you definitely have to wear a mask, that is for sure, because it does make a lot of dust and it's dusty, and I try to do that outside when I can. But all sides around have to be smoothed down, and the back has to be smoothed down. If I can get the leaves off or whatever I used, I will take them off if I'm not going to interfere with the design in any way, because I pressed those leaves in there when it was wet, and they're just going to burn up in the kiln. And this is my kiln loaded with the clay. Remember, it's mud, so I have to be very careful so I don't lose any pieces. And after it's fired, what I get is the beautiful white bisque that I am going to paint on now. Here's the bisque. Big bowl full of pendants for me to go ahead and paint. So here's just a little quick intro on what I do when I'm painting. The paint is kind of like watercolors, I would say. It's a stain, and the first time around they're dry, so the whole piece is dry. So I basically go around and I just let the paint get inside all the grooves, and you don't have to be very particular about that first paint job, because it's just going to kind of help me find out and see better where all the little grooves are, so I can so-called color within the lines. And here I have another one that is a Michigan lilac, and same thing, go around and get that base color down in there. And once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and rinse that off in the sink. And color on, color off. Here it goes. When I rinse it, it actually makes the whole piece wet. The best way I can describe bisque is like a porous sponge, because that pottery is very porous at this point. And now I've kind of filled some of the molecules with water, so painting it the second time is a little easier. You can see when I put the green on, it just kind of spreads out in a magical way. It follows right inside that groove, which is really cool. And then I'm going to go ahead and start painting the purple on those lilacs. Have to take a little more care this time around. follow the lines a little more careful. And just take your time and you go around in a circle and get all of that plant. It does dry very quickly, and what you're going to end up with is almost like a chalky paint. And if I happen to get too much in one area, what I can do is I can either take my finger and lightly rub some of it off, and what that basically will do is take some of the highlights from that impression and lighten them, and what I can't reach, that will darken them. When I'm doing the brown gnat flower, it really helps if I have a little bit more of a guide to go by, so I can get each individual strand from the flower coming out. And sometimes you can see them and you're thinking, man, this was kind of an odd flower, but just go ahead and keep filling them in, and it does seem to kind of take care of itself in the way that it looks. And there you can see when I rub it with my finger, it brings some of the highlights up a little bit more. And if need be, take a Q-tip, and sometimes that will help if you need to take some of that off in an area. And if you go off, you can take that Q-tip and wipe some of it off around the outside edges if something kind of gets away from you and it doesn't need to be there and it looks a little bit odd. All you need to do is take a little bit of a wet Q-tip and wipe that off. So these are getting ready. I'm going to take and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some glaze over the top, and the glaze can be green, pink, whatever type of glaze, but usually I use a dinnerware safe, super glossy, clear glaze. And I know you don't need these for eating any food off of, but just for consistency, I just keep the same glaze and use it all. And here's the glaze, and when you put that on, it's kind of, you don't want to rub a lot because you don't want to rub the color off that you're using. So it's basically a trick of kind of globbing it on there and spreading it out without really smearing what you just painted on. And what you're going to end up with then after it dries and everything's ready to go in the kiln, here's what you get. And this is just a quick little look at how they come out after you put them in the kiln. And you get a nice high gloss pendant. Then I can later wrap that with a slip cord. So here's some completed pieces. Thanks for watching, guys. Visit me at any of my social websites and like, subscribe, and any comments are welcome.